January 27th, 2012, from the stylish high-tech underground studios of Ribbit Media in Warwick, Rhode Island, this is NewsUndies. For January 27th, 2012, this is NewsUndies, all the news that shouldn't be news. I'm Paul Torville with these headlines. Apparently, Casey Anthony has a puppy. Oh, good. CNN explores public displays of faith in sports. Does God really care who wins? More important question, does God really exist? Tim Tebow turns out to be just another belligerently delusional sports douche. Paula Deen admits being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Hypocrisy and irony. Yum. Understaffed public libraries struggle to cope with 24-hour Wikipedia protest blackout. Support for SOPA PIPA among actual people evaporates almost immediately after ICanHasCheeseburger.com goes dark. Also, Google and Wikipedia protest. But seriously, no lolcats? For a whole day? That's inhuman! According to Gingrich, it's the press that is without conscience for finding and interviewing his second ex-wife, whom he divorced shortly after she was diagnosed with MS and she refused to swing. Yeah. It's their fault. Hey gang, it's time for celebrity birthdays once again. I got my cake hat on. Let's rock. For Saturday the 14th, Albert Schweitzer, dead, and Andy Rooney, dead. For Sunday the 15th, Captain Beefheart and Andrea Martin. For Monday the 16th, Diane Fossey, dead, and Dr. Laura Schlesinger. For Tuesday the 17th, Al Capone, dead, and Michelle Obama. For Wednesday the 18th, Ray Dolby and Michael Behe. Ew. For Thursday the 19th, Janis Joplin, dead, and Robert Palmer, dead. For Friday the 20th, Tom Baker and Lorenzo Lamas. For Saturday the 21st, Eric Holder and Paul Allen. For Sunday the 22nd, Bill Bixby, dead, and John Hurt. For Monday the 23rd, Heideke Yukawa, dead, and Gil Gerard. For Tuesday the 24th, Ernest Borgnine and Michio Kaku. For Wednesday the 25th, Etta James, dead, and Tobe Hooper. For Thursday the 26th, Maria Von Trapp, dead, and Bob Euchre. For Friday the 27th, James Cromwell and Keith Oberman. That's Celebrity Birthdays. I'm Paul Torville, and I'm done! After the break, Casey Anthony's puppy, GOP a go-go, and opposing viewpoints.
It can be hard to think rationally when a loved one passes away. This can be especially true in the event of untimely death or when religious or cultural traditions demand quick interment of remains. Blue and Flatley Funeral Homes are here to ensure your needs are served in the most efficient and profitable way possible. At Blue and Flatley Funeral Homes, your money is very important to us, and we want to make sure we do everything you can afford to put your mind at ease. Blue and Flatley, profiting from the misery of others since 1883.
Casey Anthony. A video appeared on the YouTubes depicting a number of U.S. Marines urinating on the dead bodies of a number of Taliban fighters. President Obama said the Marines had done something contemptible. Rick Perry then took the opportunity to slam President Obama for slamming the Marines, saying they're just kids and kids sometimes do stupid things and it's okay. Considering how many people the state of Texas put to death under Perry's gubernatorial guidance, I suppose Rick Perry's concept of human dignity might be a little dulled. Then, out of nowhere, Rick Perry finally, mercifully, thankfully, drops out of the GOP race. No sooner did Perry quit, he turned around and endorsed Gingrich. Put in short terms, wacko backs out, backs other wacko. And in case you had your eye on the people, still in the race, despite Rick Perry's endorsement, Newt declares ex-Mrs. Gingrich interview unconscionable. He should have thought about that before he married and divorced her. Romney wins Iowa. Santorum wins Iowa. Romney takes New Hampshire. Gingrich wins South Carolina. Eek. Ron Paul takes a back seat. Now, with Rick Perry out of the race, there's no one left to laugh at. Except the bigot. The bigot. bigot, and the guy in the magic underwear, who's also a bigot. This week's SEAL team rescue of a couple of aid workers who were being held by Somali pirates, or pirate-like individuals, in a raid that left 9 dead, raises anew questions of what constitutes American justice, and whether the lofty ideals laid out in the U.S. Constitution are workable or even worthwhile in the modern world. Here are Pig and Sheep with their thoughts.
When it comes to pirates and terrorists, you gotta get your actionable intelligence and wax those bad guys before they have a chance to hire a lawyer and demand a fair, speedy trial before a jury of their peers. 9 bullets in Somalia is a lot cheaper than 9 jail cells and 9 jury trials, and if you can get a conviction, 9 supermax prison cells for 60 years. It's a simple matter of practicality, and besides, they're not Christians. They're going to hell anyway. Justice? Human rights? Either these things apply to all people or they apply to none. How can we as Americans expect our government to treat us with respect, dignity, and fairness when we are suspected of committing crimes, when we cheer our government for dropping in unannounced, seizing or killing foreign nationals on foreign soil in nations with which we are not at war? If you have any ideas that what this government is doing overseas is right, I challenge you to take 3 hours out of your life and watch the very important 1983 dystopian black comedy, Brazil, the director's cut. Then come talk to me.
That's what Pig and Sheep think. What are your thoughts? Email them to ovcomments@newsundies.com. Now that the space shuttle program has ended, there's no possibility that Sunday's coronal mass ejection from the sun will threaten space shuttle astronauts. Thank goodness for that. Of course, the crew of the International Space Station was not so lucky. When the rush of charged particles from the CME makes its way to Earth, ISS crew members in low Earth orbit retreat to their special shielded bunker to protect them from the flow of charged particles from the sun. The shower of charged particles made for thrilling auroras. Some planes were rerouted, satellites hiccuped and sputtered, power grids could have barfed, but apparently didn't. So, protons from the sun, moving very fast. Don't go away. Coming up after the break, Tim Tebow, Jeff Goldblum, and real Christian love for fabric.
For your upcoming wedding, bat mitzvah, or funeral, trust the professionals at Blas Florist to create the perfect mood-appropriate arrangement. Your special occasion will be so much more special with a Blas Florist arrangement. Blas will help your memories be that much more memorable. Call or click today to order your unique and not at all sexually suggestive arrangement from Blas Florist. Blas, the florist you shouldn't fear.
Tim Tebow. Jeff Goldblum, what a fascinating individual. This week, we're debuting a new segment which explores just how fascinating a man he is. Here's Ryan Hanley with a Jeff Goldblum fact.
You know Jeff Goldblum. Did you know Jeff Goldblum got paid twice to say the same line of dialogue? He said "must go faster" in both Jurassic Park and Independence Day. Each time was more delicious than the last. Back to you.
Thanks, Ryan. Fascinating. And now it's time for Moose Weintraub and the Sports Half Minute.
Moose Weintraub Sports Half Minute. It's a whole half minute of sports. 30 seconds of sports. Moose Weintraub Sports Half Minute.
This is your Sports Half Minute. I'm Moose Weintraub. In response to charges of years of overlooking child sex abuse, Joe Paterno died of cancer to restore his good name.
Moose Weintraub Sports Half Minute.
Thanks, Moose. Always a great report from Moose. On January 11th, District Court Judge Ronald R. Legoo ruled in favor of Jessica Alquist, a student at Cranston High School West and the ACLU, requiring the school to take down its school prayer banner. And then? Wow. Death threats from people, presumably Christians, wanting the prayer banner to stay, directed at high school junior Jessica Alquist. Rhode Island State Representative Peter G. Palumbo, Democrat, District 16, Cranston, on WPRO AM's John DePietro show, made some wildly irresponsible remarks about the high school junior, including, quote, "What an evil little thing," end quote, and, quote, "I think she's being coerced by evil people. She's a pawn," end quote. Moments later, apparently pleased with himself, Palumbo referred to her as a, quote, "pawn star," end quote. What the hell kind of Democrat is he? The whole time, talk show host DePietro egged him on and mocked the possibility that the prayer banner might have any sort of actual detrimental effect on a person who doesn't believe in a god. After that echo chamber of bigoted religious hatred, the Freedom from Religion Foundation attempted to send flowers to Alquist, but found that 3 local florists in Cranston and 1 in Warwick, Rhode Island, refused to deliver flowers to her, one expressing fear for their driver's safety over the possibility of Christian pro-banner violence. The FFRF ended up finding an out-of-state florist who would make the delivery. WPRO's DePietro got FFRF co-president Annie Laurie Gaylor on the phone and feebly tried to defend the Cranston School Board's position and the actions of the florists. DePietro then went on to remark that, quote, "I don't accept this whole business about the separation of church and state," end quote. To which Gaylor replied, quote, "Is this a religious program?" end quote. DePietro tried to pick apart individual aspects of the florist's case, like, did you call or did someone else? And did you call the Rhode Island florist directly? As if any of that makes any difference. When Gaylor realized the foolishness in which DePietro was engaged, she replied, talking over DePietro's objections, quote, "The cruelty, the bigotry. It's as if they said, I will not deliver flowers because they're black or they're Jewish. This is a civil rights violation. They said they would not deliver flowers to that person. We have it in writing. It's on the receipt they gave our florist," end quote. Then she decided when it was time to end the call. Priceless. Quote, "Listen, Paul, it's been nice talking to you. I gotta run. I have other calls. Click." End quote. And that's the way you do it. And finally, and I do mean finally, we all saw this coming, didn't we? Eastman Kodak, a company which pioneered and popularized chemical photography beginning in 1889, has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. In 1975, an Eastman Kodak employee invented digital photography. Of course, at that time, people were still trying to figure out what to use computers for. That! Use computers for that! One of the most common and popular uses for computers today is the creation, storage, management, sharing, and manipulation of digital photographs. From that fateful moment in 1975, Eastman Kodak managed to not embrace the fact that its cash cow, chemical photography, was doomed. Of course, who could blame them? The amount of memory and storage needed to hold one still photograph, let alone moving images, was way beyond what was conveniently available to the consumer in 1975. Who could blame them? Me. I could blame them. 2 things proved them to be short-sighted: Moore's Law and lossy compression. Moore's Law says, in a nutshell, that compute power per dollar doubles about every 18 months to 2 years. It was coined around 1970 by Intel founder Gordon Moore. It's not really a hard and fast law, but it has proven to be mostly right, and Eastman Kodak could have seen that coming. By the mid-90s, when digital cameras were finding their way into the consumer market, who were the prominent players? Strangely, the companies that made cameras, not the companies that made film. Lossy compression, like JPEG, allows in many cases up to a 10-to-1 reduction in file size for a given digital image file. When compute speeds are high enough to make effective use of lossy compression on the fly at the time of image creation, the storage requirements of consumer digital cameras drop precipitously. As flash memory got cheaper and computers got faster still, consumers' use of film for ordinary photography almost stopped completely. By the time Eastman Kodak really tried to embrace digital photography in the consumer space, other players had mature, established offerings, which made Eastman Kodak appear as a new and inexperienced player. Now, here's hoping Eastman Kodak doesn't go down that popular road for those stalwart old technology companies that don't see the end coming, transforming into a patent troll. Well, that's all for this edition of NewsUndies. If you see news that shouldn't be news, submit your story tips online at NewsUndies.com. NewsUndies is a bi-weekly show. We'll be back on Friday, February 10th with fresh undies. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Paul Torville. After that, I might be looking for a high-energy proton. Quack.